What's good, YouTube? It is your boy, Big Cool, coming to you from
Colossal Sports TV.
And I am back with another video. It has been a long time since I've posted, in particular about boxing. You know, I've been doing a lot of stuff. Don't get it twisted. I'm still in boxing 100%, but this channel will be shifting. Boxing will still get majority of the coverage on this channel, but I feel like as I'm growing, I want to discuss other things outside of boxing. I am a journalist for 3kingsboxing.com, so you can always catch my work and the other fellas over there. You know, we bringing that heat on a daily basis, but I am back, and I'm about to talk some boxing. It appears that WBC featherweight champion Gary Russell is just out in these streets. Shout out to my man 2K and Bo that coined that phrase, in these streets. He won't smoke with everybody. I mean, everybody. Terrence Crawford, you know, he won't smoke him. He even threw out Adrian Broner's name, you know, saying that they can meet up. And he already put the 135-pound division on notice. That includes Vasil Lomachenko, who defeated him a few years ago, Devin Haney, Ryan Garcia, Tank Davis, the list goes on and on. We also know that his own division, he was chasing a fight with Leo Santa Cruz for the longest time. But he wasn't able to secure that fight. And now Leo Santa Cruz is moving up to 130 to tangle with Gervonta Tank Davis. But his latest target is none other than Devin the Dream Haney, the unbeaten WBC lightweight champion of the world. And pretty much, Russell Jr. said, I'll fight you for 1.5 million and beat your ass. You know, I'm gonna plug in the screenshot in the links to the articles from 3kingsboxing.com as well in the description box down below, so you can all check it out for yourself. But pretty much, Russell said Shorty can get it, and Team Haney came out and kind of made it look like that the offer that was made to them wasn't a genuine, real deal offer, which of course had the ever so talkative, at least of late, Gary Russell responds saying this: damn, Devin, now y'all trying to say I ain't ducking? Y'all niggas wild as shit, man. Ain't nobody ducking you, Shorty. You know what I'm saying? You talking about some, I will fight you for 1.5, this and the third. That number 1.5, that's what I was going to take for Terrence Crawford, because that shit was personal. That was personal, to be honest with you. He was talking, he wanted to break my neck and all this old other goofy shit. When it comes to you, Shorty, that number doesn't make sense. That shit crazy. You was the first one I was trying to sink my teeth in once this corona shit was over with. You know, pretty much saying, like, don't call me a duck artist. I ducks no one. I'm issuing out the challenges left and right. And honestly, man, not Devin Haney, excuse me. Gary Russell Jr. is like 31 years old. He doesn't fight often. We all know that is well documented throughout the course of his career. He has 30 plus fights. He's extremely gifted physically, athletically. He's a superb boxer, as we've seen when he actually does fight. But now he's getting real desperate. You know, he's kind of becoming a chatty patty when he talk about a story that I'm pretty sure is well known in the boxing world between him and Terrence Crawford. But to just release that information kind of looks weak and desperate. We know that Terrence Crawford is a wanted man at 147, so he's not really going to entertain Gary Russell, who is significantly smaller than that of Terrence Crawford. But I like that he's turned his attention to Devin Haney. Devin Haney is a talented fighter. He's 21 years old. He's yet to really have that marquee fight, although he's a champion. He has called out IBF lightweight champion Teofimo Lopez, unified lightweight champion Vasily Lomachenko, as well as Ryan Garcia, who he could face next year if Garcia gets by Luke Campbell for that interim WBC lightweight title and the right to become the mandatory to Devin Haney in his WBC title. But if you're not going to fight those guys right now, why not give Gary Russell Jr. a shot at your title? He's the WBC champion at 126. You're the champion at 135. He's clearly willing to move up in weight to make that fight happen. So why not? I know that Devin Haney has been in talks with Yuriorkis Gamboa for a potential fight, as well as Javier Fortuna. But and those fights may make more sense. They're naturally bigger than Gary Russell. But I feel like at this point, neither one of those guys that's being looked at as possible opponents are as good skill-wise than Gary Russell Jr. Gary Russell is still fresh. Now, people criticize him, and rightfully so, for his lack of activity, but this could play benefit for him if he gets these big fights in consecutive, fights, because he doesn't have a lot of wear and tear on his body. He's fresh. I think, like I said, he's 31, 32 years old. He only has one loss in his career, and that's against Vasily Lomachenko. So I think that a fight between him and Devin Haney gets me excited. I think that although he will be coming up 2 weight classes, he has that amateur experience, he has that pro experience, he has the natural gifts, he has that tremendous hand speed, he has underrated power, he has good footwork. He does have the short arms, but this is a guy that is expressing 100% genuine confidence in his abilities to not only fight the guys at 126, 130, 135, but also Terrence Crawford at 147. So I don't believe that there should be any excuses if this fight is made and, Haney puts hands on him in a bad way, because these guys are fighters. Gary Russell Jr. has made it clear that he would beat Devin Haney's ass. So I feel like the fight needs to happen. All that back and forth chit chat through social media and all that other stuff, that's irrelevant, and that shit need to fall by the wayside. We need contracts signed, sealed, and delivered, and fights needed to be made. So I think that a Gary Russell Devin Haney fight would be good. It would be entertaining. Both of these guys are boxers. Like I said, Gary Russell Jr. has tremendous hand speed, a great amateur pedigree. He's been a champion for a long time now in his career, and I feel like that is a fight that would, if victorious for Haney, would give his confidence level another boost, and that really doesn't need to happen. He's already an extremely confident guy as it is. So I say, stop the BS through the media, negotiate behind closed doors, and make the fight happen. All right, let's go to the next topic. Billy Joe Saunders. This guy, 2-division world champion, current WBO super middleweight champion, the guy who was supposed to fight Canelo Alvarez in May before the COVID-19 pandemic panned that fight, is back talking shit. This guy talks so much shit to the point where he's annoying. Now he's calling out Callum Smith, the WBA and Ring Magazine 168-pound champion. Also, WBO middleweight champion Demetrius Boo Boo Andrade, who they were scheduled to fight in October of 2018, but that was panned due to some transgressions by Billy Joe Saunders taking a banned substance, which killed that fight. But he said this: Callum Smith and Andrade, let's get it on. Callum, you're a great fighter, good fighter. Unification, I reckon we can get it on. Andrade, you're just a little pussy who keeps running. Don't want to fight nobody, so let's go. 168, let's rock and roll. November or December, we ready, boys. So pretty much, look, I find it ironic that Billy Joe Saunders is calling anybody a pussy. And this is not to defend Andrade, because his resume is very sketchy, and I'll do a video on that some other time. But this guy, outside of who he beat? He beat Andy Lee. He did beat David Lemieux, a former champion. Both of those guys are former champions. Other than that, and Chris Eubank Jr., other than that, I mean, his resume is piss poor. He got a shot over the guy he defeated to win his title in 168. I forget his name, but I mean, that guy wasn't on his level. He wasn't even a C level type fighter, and there's no disrespect to him. That's just the facts. But I like that he's calling these guys out. So can nobody say, well, he doesn't want to fight nobody. He's being quiet. He's been in the corner because Billy Joe Saunders loves to run his mouth. If there's a camera, a microphone, he logged into his Twitter account, he's going to say something. And I believe that now that he's aligned himself with Eddie Hearn and Matchroom Boxing, that a fight with either one of these guys, Smith or Andrade, isn't too far-fetched. It can be done if all parties involved want it to be done. A unification bout at 168 would be the route that I would go if I was Billy Joe Saunders. I know that he has unfinished history with, or unfinished business with Demetrius Andrade, but that can wait. If your goal is to become undisputed champion at 168, the only way to do that is at first partaking in unification bouts, winning, and then moving on to the next champion and so forth and so on. These guys are doing too much talking, just like I said previously about Gary Russell and Devin Haney. You know, these fighters are doing too much talking and not enough fighting. And that is what's hurting the sport of boxing. Boxing will never, ever get back to its heyday if these guys don't fight as much as they talk and produce classic fights, showcase dominance and consistency that the past great fighters, did before them. But I feel like Billy Joe Saunders is a talented fighter. I mean, he's a southpaw. He's not a big puncher. You see what he did against David Lemieux, which isn't hard to do at all. David Lemieux is a very limited fighter. He can knock your head off if he lands. But he's a come-forward fighter. Doesn't have a jab. Terrible footwork. Ring IQ isn't all that. But I still feel that Billy Joe Saunders possesses the proper skills to compete with the Canelo Alvarez's, the Callum Smiths, the David Benavidez's, the Demetrius Andrades, and so forth and so on. I hope that one of these fights materializes. It doesn't matter if it's Saunders versus Smith or Saunders versus Andrade. These guys need big fights. And these are fights that pique the interest of all fight fans around the world. So I hope that, Billy Joe Saunders is honest in what he's saying because, he's 31 years old. Yeah, he's a two-division world champion, but he got some asterisks about that, at least the one at 168. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like he needs to do less talking and more fighting. And so same with Andrade and Smith, not too much of a talker, but he definitely needs to step his competition up as well. Next topic, final one. This is one that kind of is disappointing. The news, and it is Kell Brook being made a sacrificial lamb. And I'm not saying that they cashed him out because they're 34 years of age, only fighting 5 times in the last 4 years. He really has nothing to offer against Terrence Crawford, a guy that a lot of people will see as the number 1 pound for pound guy in the sport of boxing. And if not number 1, he's definitely in the top 3 to 5 when it comes to those rankings. But this is yet another disappointing potential matchup for Terrence Crawford, who has a mandatory in Sean Porter that's recently been made, to his WBO belt. We know that the fight out there we want to see is him and Errol Spence. But hell, you got Yordenis Ugas, who's coming off of a fucking split decision win last night in a fight that should have been a unanimous decision. But, he got the win, which is the most important thing. You got Danny Garcia, who fights Spence. You got, I don't know if I said Keith Thurman, you got him. You got a lot of respectable guys in 147 who have been calling for you or that the fans want to see fight you. And you elect to fight, Kell Brook. Kell Special K Brook. And there's nothing special about Brook anymore. This guy ruined himself, in my opinion, which I salute him for taking the challenge. But back in 2016, he went up 2 weight classes to fight Gennady Golovkin and got his orbital bone cracked, you know. And then almost 2 years later, he went up against his mandatory at the time, Errol Spence, got the other orbital bone broken, and that set him back even further. This guy's punch resistance is gone. I don't think his bones holds up, at least in the upper face area, eyes in particular. I think that he can punch. I think that he's a good athletic fighter. He has a good jab. He has good timing. I mean, he's physically strong. And maybe he can do something with Terrence Crawford, because Terrence Crawford didn't look his best in his last fight where he was dropped, but it wasn't ruled a knockdown. It was ruled a push or a slip. But I think that this is disappointing for Terrence Crawford to select Kell Brook. I know we've been dealing with this pandemic, but let's cut the excuses. You could have fought Yordenis Ugas easily. Or you could fight whoever you can fight. You can wait to fight Sean Porter in 2021 and just say, you know what, I'm going to sit out the rest of this year. You know what I'm saying? Actually negotiate a deal with Porter and face him. But to face Kell Brook, I mean, it's weak. I mean, it's really weak. You know what I'm saying? I don't get the move. I don't like the move, but it's his prerogative. And, you know, you got Kell Brook who, is confident. He's saying that talks are progressing well. He said this: talks are progressing and we feel like we are edging closer. My team has been in regular dialogue with Bob Arum. I've dethroned a welterweight American world champion in his own backyard before. I look forward to doing it again. He's referencing his fight with Sean Showtime Porter, I think back in 2014-15, where he went to Carson, California, and defeated Sean Porter by unanimous decision, I believe. But this is not the same Kell Brook. If that Kell Brook was fighting Terrence Crawford, I would feel much better about this matchup. I would be like, okay, this is an excellent matchup. You know what I'm saying? Even if Kell Brook had took a loss or two, you know what I'm saying, under different circumstances, I'm like, okay, this is a good matchup. You know, a former world champion. He had some losses, but, you know, it was a decision or whatever it may be. But he's damaged goods physically and mentally. You can tell by how he fights. He is always in the back of his mind. It's always in the back of his mind when, you know, his opponent is coming forward. You can just look at his eye. You can look at his face, his expressions. You know, he's worried about taking too much punishment to the eyes, and who can blame him? I mean, because nobody wants to go blind. You want to have a life once you done boxing and hang up those gloves. So, of course, that's going to be on the back of his mind. But I feel like this is a cash-out fight. I think that he's being made a sacrificial lamb by choice. But this guy has not fought, you know, since, you know, February, where he knocked out Mark DeLuca. But his quality of competition hasn't been worth a damn since he fought Errol Spence Jr. In May of 2017. That's where he was stopped in his second consecutive fight. And matter of fact, I mean, he didn't even fight. It wasn't even less. I think it was less than a year or a little over a year when he came back from that Gennady Golovkin, you know, fight where he had some success. I just feel like his quality of competition hasn't prepped him for the type of fighter he's going to step in the ring with in a Terrence Crawford. Terrence Crawford is very versatile. He's a switch hitter. Once he moves to southpaw, he's damn near unbeatable. He can punch. He's athletic. He has a high ring IQ, good defensively. But this question is about him. Will Kell Brook be the guy that, you know, answer him? I don't know. I don't think so. But this is boxing. We just witnessed Alexander Povetkin, a 41-year-old guy, knock out Dillian White with a beautiful left uppercut out of nowhere to spoil his plans for, you know, maintaining his WBC standing as the mandatory for Tyson Fury. So this is boxing. A punch can change it all. If this fight is done, it'll be done for November, I believe. Let me make sure. Yeah, it'll be done for November, December. So We had to see, man. We had to see. But if you like this video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. Make sure you subscribe to Colossal Sports TV. Drop those comments in the comment section down below, letting me know your thoughts on this. Also, turn on that notification bell to be notified every time I upload content. Follow the Facebook page, Colossal Sports TV. I will be posting videos over there as well. I am back active. I will be doing more than just boxing. I'll be doing TV, football, basketball, music and everything, but just rock with me. Big Cool is back, but Big Cool is out right now. Until next time, I am out. Peace.